Let's go on a journey beyond what we have been told and seek the truth together.
Well, hi, welcome to another Oswald. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. First of all, we're going to be talking about Nostradamus and a man that's world renowned for predicting things. Then we're going to talk about us. What is it we do? Here we go. On the 14th of December, 1503, two parents, Jacques and René de Nostradamus, was born their son, Michael de Nostradamus. He was born in Saint Remy de Provence of France. He was the ninth of 9 children born to the notary, Jacques. Who were originally Jews, but his grandfather, or his father, gaining money and dealing based in Avignon, had converted to Catholicism around 1459 to 1460, taking the Christian name Pierre, and then reducing his name from de Nostradamus to just Nostradamus. Michael was educated in the University of Avignon. He was forced to leave there when the University of Avignon shut down due to the plague. After leaving Avignon, Michael himself mentioned the fact that for a few years he just traveled around the countryside. It was about 8 years from researching herbal remedies. He then went to the University of Montpellier to study a doctorate in medicine. He was expelled shortly afterwards by the student procurator. He was expelled afterwards by Guillaume Rondelet when it was discovered that he was an apothecary, basically a manual trader, expressly banned from the university. Poor Nostradamus. But that's not what made him famous. That's how he began his life. But he did one thing first. In the year of 1559, he made this prediction. A young lion will overcome the older one on the field of combat in a single battle. He will pierce his eyes through the golden cage, and 2 wounds made 1. Then he dies a cruel death. Well, that's not much of a prediction, but he was talking about the then French king, Henry II, who lined up in a joust against Gabriel Comte de Montgomery, a nobleman 6 years his junior, in that summer of 1559. On their final pass, their lances struck each other's shields, and Gabriel's splintered off, and splints shot through and went through the visor bit of the king's helmet, which pierced his brain, and he didn't die straight away. That's the worst thing. He got septicemia and died horribly and painfully. And the predictions of Nostradamus was born. He had predicted several things, lots and lots of different things. For instance, the Great Fire of London, where, and I quote, "The blood of the just will commit a fault in London, at London. Burnt through lightning of 23 the 6th, the ancient lady will fall from her high place. Several of the same sect will be killed." That was him talking about Great Fire of London, which was Great Fire of London 1066. The interpretation is 23's the 6 is 66, 1066. Added the mention of, he mentioned London, which was a really good thing, fire, all the rest of it. So that was a prediction. He also predicted the coming of Adolf Hitler. The thing is, and this is what I get with, he also predicted the French Revolution. And as I quote, "Songs and chants and demands will come from the enslaved, held captive by the nobility in their prisons. At a later date, brainless idiots will take those as divine utterance." Oh, there we go. Couldn't say any fairer than that. There was an uprising. The enslaved masses took the nobles, beheaded them. That sounds pretty much like what he was saying, does it? He also, Napoleon, Pane Leon, more fire than blood, swimming in praise. The great man hurries to the swimming in praise. The great man hurries to confluence. He will refuse entry to the magpies. Pompon and Durance will confine them. Well, Panay and Laurent were reference to 3 towns in Paris. Through the last was actually named Orellana. By using them, Nostradamus employed one of his favorite devices, the anagrams. Now, rearranging the city's letters spells Napoleon Roy, which eerily resembles Napoleon, the king in France. And it continues like that. The King Philip II of Spain, his reign. For 7 years, Philip's fortunes will prosper. He will reduce the Arab army. Then halfway through, things will predictably turn against him. A young onion will destroy his future. The Catholic King Philip of Spain ruled the country in 1556. Spain became unbelievably wealthy at the first part of his reign. 7 could have been interpreted as biblical, meaning a long time. I don't think 7 was, but back then 7 was a long time if you died quite early. Success, however, came to an unexpected halt in 1587 when the execution of Mary Queen of Scots, who was also Catholic. Her death effectively ended his alliance with England. A year later, he tried to invade England and his Spanish Armada fleet. A year later, he tried to invade England with his Armada fleet, but England thwarted him. He also spoke about the coming of Hitler. From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He also predicted the coming of Hitler. And I quote, "From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of poor people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east, and beasts furious with hunger will cross the rivers. The greater parts of the battlefield will be against Hister. Into a cage of iron will the great one be drawn, when the child of Germany observed nothing." Now, with all that, that sounds like Hitler. Hitler's very close to Hitler. And talk about a young person who's going to come over and do that. Yeah, that's all fine. But near where he lived was a river called Hister. He could have been talking about that. But you never know. He even predicted John F. Kennedy's assassination. Now, that's years after the man was gone. And I quote, "The ancient task will be completed. From on high, evil will fall onto a great man. A dead innocent will be accused of the deed. The guilty will remain in the mist." Now, that's kind of cool. It's kind of weird because a lot of people believe Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the only person or wasn't the only person involved in the assassination of JFK. There's lots of theories on that. And if you'd like to hear about one of those, please put it in the comments. I'll get onto it straight away or as soon as I can. But again, that was what would seem to be quite a close variation of something. Now, the problem is here, as we've moved on in the 21st century, and we're in a place now where we can look back at Nostradamus, and people are not, I'm not going to say gullible, because it's not gullible, but some people choose to believe things because they think that is the truth, and therefore it has to be believed. Having read all those quotes from Nostradamus, yeah, I've found one thing in when I've been researching for this one. None of them actually hits the nail exactly on the head. But what's happened is people have looked at this and seen similarities in things and accepted them to be the truth. You know, like Hitler, very close to Hitler. You know, the JFK one was kind of close, but, you know, didn't mention him. He didn't mention the US. A lot of things could be interpreted as other things. A lot of what was there. And this is what it is. And this is what I'm trying to say. Nostradamus, his predictions was down to interpretation. It's all believed by the person who's reading his interpretations. Now, all I know for certain is that the only book he ever wrote for certain was a cookbook. They said that he was on the Vatican's no read list for his book. That's not true. He was invited several times to speak over there. A lot of things that were said about him were said after he'd passed. And there's no way to verify, you know, everything that was said or was done. But what we do know from history is that some of these things have come to pass. Which brings me on to this. let's drag this into the 21st century. We're all gullible to predictions. We do it to ourselves. I have an old saying that I say quite a lot. If a man believes today's the day he will die, he will find a way to kill himself. That's somebody finding a way to make their predictions come true. And we have a lot of those things. I am well guilty of some weird stuff. I won't walk under ladders. Hands up all those who won't walk under a ladder. Through fear of something bad happening. A prediction will follow. I always cross myself when I see a single magpie and, do the nods. And honestly, it looks like I've got hand Tourette's when I see a magpie. The amount of things that I do because, there's a magpie. Good morning, Mr. Magpie. Good morning, Mrs. Magpie. And I've narrowed that down. There used to be more, but it's just too much to do in one hit. But, there's other ones. Like, for instance, I won't split a pole. If two of us are walking together and we walk either side of a pole, I will stop. I'll reverse and go around the same way as that person. I have found family members of mine find it very comedic to purposely do that because of how I react. And while I was researching Nostradamus, because this was going to be all about him, I realized there's a bigger picture here that we need to look at. And the picture is we all try to make our own predictions based on things that have been ingrained in us. You can predict that a spider will hurt you because when you were growing up, you're scared of spiders. They're far smaller than you could ever be. And for instance, in England, there are no poisonous spiders, but people still fear them because of what they predict will happen, which was never known to happen here. But the prediction is some harm will come to you if the spider touches you. Some harm will come to you if you walk under a ladder. Some harm will come to you if you split a pole. Some harm will come to you, or some harm will come to your mother if you walk on a crack, break your mother's back. Now, I look back at this stuff that I've done, and I still do, even though I've researched this and I found a lot of it is silly. Some of it comes back from past information, like splitting a pole. Young couples used to hold hands, and it was found back many, 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 many years ago that if they, separated their hands while they're walking to go around a tree, a post, or something like that, sometimes the relationship didn't work out. But people started to say, if you did this, this will happen. Therefore, split a pole, something bad will happen to the couple. And this is where we are in life now. We are people who fear predictions of things that we have no control over. Yes, Nostradamus made a lot of predictions. In fact, he's made predictions about the end of the world. He's made predictions about the Third World War. So they say. But I'm not going to read those out because I read you a few. But that's for you to look at and tell me what you think that these things say. Because everything in this world, everything you do is up to interpretation. And we do it all the time. This time next year, I want to be here. That's you making a prediction, just like Nostradamus. Oh, I want to be, by the time I'm 30, I want to be this successful and earning this much money. That's a prediction. It's what you think, Oh, I know if I stay with this person, I'm going to have a happy life because this person's great for me. A prediction. I can't do this because I need to do something else because I can't stay on that path. Otherwise, something else will lose out. Prediction. The thing is, the weird thing is, if you look at life, you cannot predict what happens in it because life is so unpredictable. How many times have you got up in the morning, started off on a great day, and it's just suddenly got bad? Or it's just woken up in a bad way and you just had a bad day because you will say these words, I am having a bad day. And straight away, you start believing your own prediction because you're started off having a bad day and a few things have gone wrong. Your whole day can be a bad day. And it's us. We do it to ourselves. There's been people in this world who have, as I say in when I first said my thing, if a man thinks today's the day he'll die, he will find a way to kill himself. And people do that. You know, people will eat something, hear about somebody who has ate that before and been quite ill, and they've worried themselves into doing that also. How can you believe that from doing one thing will come to something else? You cannot justify that. But people will tell you, it came true. I was told not to go there. And, nothing good happens after 2 p.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. Yeah. And people will be out and they'll think, 2 a.m. You know what? Something bad's going to happen. I know it. And they will almost will themselves to make this prediction come true. And it's like, why don't you just will yourself in the opposite direction? If you're having a bad day, why don't you say, you know what? Days that start this bad will only get better. That could work. But because of how we have been conditioned in our lives, we see predictions all around us. And ones like Nostradamus, I know a lot of people are like, Nostradamus, come on. You couldn't make those predictions. But them same people, like myself, will have these weird idiosyncrasies that they use in their daily life. These things that they won't do. Like crossing a knife and a fork when you haven't finished eating. Or no, putting a fork on top of a knife. I've seen people break that on somebody else's plate. Like, don't do that. Oh, bad luck will come to you because of a knife and fork being set in a certain position. Bad luck. Walking under a ladder. For whatever reason, suddenly it's bad luck. And if you walk under it, you will start to believe bad luck will happen to you. And you start to think it. Now, this is the thing. What we have in here is an amazing piece of equipment. But we don't seem to own it. Ask anybody who's had a mental health problem. And they'll say, what? No, I don't own my brain. It does horrible things to me. Horrible things to me. Makes me think horrible thoughts. Like having a nightmare. Your brain is your brain. And you can go to sleep thinking, oh God, I watched that horror movie. Oh, I'm going to have a nightmare tonight. And without fail, your brain will give you what you've asked for. Your prediction will come true. And your own brain that knows all your fears, things that you don't want to see, it will introduce them into your dream and give you a nightmare. A friend from the gym, she started off having a bad day. And bad things kept happening. Purely because she said she was having a bad day. Once that mindset hits, that brain will cause you to have exactly what you say you're going to have. So we all look at Nostradamus and we're like, he predicted amazing things. But yet, millions of us, and I mean millions, will follow predictions of our own everywhere around the world. For instance, the Chinese, number 8 is extremely lucky. People will pay millions for, say, a number plate that has 3 8s on it. Millions. Because to them, their prediction is if they have it, then good luck will befall them. And you know what that is? A positive mindset. But because it's an 8, that positive mindset says, pay everything you can get to get that, because that will make you happy. Isn't it weird that all we need to say is, I make me happy, and that will make you smile? But we choose to believe the lies our brain tells us, and our predictions become awe-inspiring. And we fail to understand how we do these things. We fail to understand why Nostradamus' predictions are supposedly so accurate, but yet the ones I've read to you, if I didn't tell you what they were about, I doubt you would have figured them out. Or you might have done, because you might have heard it before, or you could guess. But all he did was put a few random words and phrases into a sentence of poems, I may add, that he wrote, poems. And from those poems, people have predicted everything. Even the future World War III, Nostradamus has predicted it, because they've read stuff, and like we do with magpies or anything else like that, we see something, our brain tells us, look, there is that mark, that's what that says, and we believe it, and then it becomes the truth. And you know what? When I first started doing this, I wanted to find out how many of Nostradamus' predictions, what percentage of his predictions came true. But after researching him and looking at all these things and reading what people say about him, I felt I didn't want to go that way. I felt that we had to look at the real cause. Us, the human race, the most intelligent species on this planet. But yet I've never seen rhinos in the Serengeti. From the TV programs I've watched, they see a tree coming up and you see 2 rhinos walking together, and one suddenly stops and runs back round because they've split the tree, and one rhino feels that that's going to happen. I've not seen any other animal walk under a ladder and go, ooh, no. You have a black cat run across your path, and that's it. You're going to have a bad day because a black cat crossed your path. Well, here's a weird question for you. Do cats look at humans and go, oh no, I'm going to have a bad day because the black guy just crossed my path, or a black person just crossed my path? I don't think they do. But yet the most intelligent species on this planet finds things to hurt themselves with. You know? But imagine if we had as much forthright and as much power in our minds for positive things. Imagine what we could do in this world. Imagine the amount of hunger we could cure. Imagine how much bloodshed we could stop. Imagine how much good we could do on this planet if our mindset was set with our positive predictions rather than the negative predictions we take for granted. And I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you see a magpie, morning Mr. Magpie, morning Mr. Magpie, and you go through this ritual, ask yourself this one question. What the bloody hell am I doing? Because I'm telling you something now. The thing about a magpie is they're attracted to shiny stuff. So their their folly into our predictions of how things go bad. It's not actually true. It's based on the fact that if you have a window open and a piece of jewelry near a window and a magpie sees it, they don't come and take it because they want to give you bad luck. It's shiny. They like shiny. So they go and take it. They're a bird. They see, they want, they take. It's nothing to do with any prediction anybody has made. It's not to do with how many times you crossed yourself, or you waved, you said good morning to them, or you didn't. The animal is just doing what the animal does. When you see a black cat and it's walking and it just walks in front of you, and you almost fight with it to stop that because, oh no, bad luck will befall me. What you're doing is you're predicting your own self-worth, I think. Because if you truly believe something bad's going to happen to you, you'll find a way to make it happen. Your mind will engage. And once your mind's engaged on that downward spiral, for some reason, we cannot break it. We just believe because that cat walked in front of us, it's going to be a bad day. And you know, the scary thing is, that cat didn't look at you and think, I'm going to mess up this guy's day by crossing his path. All that cat was thinking, I want to go from here to there. And I'm going to walk in front of this person because that's what I do. I am a cat. And if it's, you know, it's weird that just a black cat. And you know where that comes from? Old fables about witches, broomsticks, and they always have black cats. And from that has come this stupid fable that if one crosses your path, it's going to be bad luck. But back in the old days, it wasn't cross your path as in walk in front of you. If you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, they'll cross your path. But yet, I never ever see anybody panic when they see me walking in front of them. Because black man crossing your path is not going to do any damage to your life whatsoever. Well, you know, some of them weirdos might do. But it doesn't have to be a colour thing. It's an idiot thing. But the thing is, we believe that a cat can do that much to us. One little moggy walking across our path can destroy everything we believe in a split second. I have seen people literally go, oh, great, that's it, ruined my day, because they've seen a black cat walk across their path. And then something will happen. They'll spill something on themselves. A stupid little accident. Suddenly, it's the cat's fault. Once they believe it, another little stupid accident. What you don't realize is your subconscious is making all these accidents happen because you've predicted. Your prediction, your Nostradamus moment is that you predict bad things if a black cat crosses your path. You predict bad things if you see a single magpie. You see bad things if you walk under a ladder. And you think back and you ask yourself, where did I get that from? Why do I suddenly have this weird prediction that bad things will happen to me if I do this or if I do that? And that's just 3 of the millions that are out there in the world. All different cultures, all different places. They all have their strange predictions of things that could happen to you if you do a certain thing. The only prediction I could tell you that's honestly truthful, if you put a loaded gun to your head and you pull the trigger, you will die. And if a man thinks today's the day he's going to die, he will find a way to kill himself. Now remember, this is just my opinion. It's not the opinion of anybody else's in this world but mine. I really hope you appreciate my opinion, and I hope that some of it is the same as yours. And I hope we can have dialogue on it. Now, in order to make sure you continue, hit the like button. Press the bell for reminders and subscribe. That way, next time I do this, you'll be here to see it. This is me signing out. And I wish you nothing but peace and love. Have a great day. And don't let the black cat fool you.